live today to talk about conscious eating. Wild blueberry pie, potato chips at night, whatever it is you're into, lobster macaroni. I think that ultimately you can get away with eating just about anything if you know how to eat consciously. So, I want to give you some techniques and some tools today that you can use to start building a conscious and even intuitive approach to food. And this is all real lived experience. I didn't look up on the internet what people are talking about or anything, which I usually do that because I think that it's sort of that is an important place to begin when you're creating what I would consider I always consider this stuff you're creating an argument or you're stating sort of a position about something, and that's how I do it when I write my video stuff, my scripts. But this one I didn't, because I've struggled personally with food so much when I was younger. And by the time I was like 25, I had done so much work on it that I feel like I've stayed pretty stable. I have had some health issues pop up through the years, and I've been able to find alternative solutions and figure things out for myself. So this is all real experience for you all, and I'm also happy to answer any questions. If you all have questions about intuitive eating and conscious eating right here and now, I would love to answer those questions too. So feel free to do that. You can also holla and say hi and tell me how you're doing and where you are on the earth. If you are in New England or any of the other places on the planet that are being dogged with water right now, it's like I sat down on this seat and my bum is now wet because the window 4 feet away is open and it's just so humid. Okay, so one of the cool ones is praying for the food. Now I would love to know, do you know about praying for food? So this is a really powerful one, right? So you can, it is kind of advanced, right? So you're going to obviously have to figure out, like, do you even pray? Like, maybe you don't. But if you send energy to something, right? So this is, I think it's, is it the Hashimoto? The Japanese guy who worked with water particles and would send love into water. And the particles would be crystalline and absolutely beautiful. Versus if you send negativity into a person, a food, a plant, anything. And this stuff is like studied over and over again, right? So, and proven time and time again. So it really works. So you can set, if you want to think of it as an intention, it might be easier for you, right? So I have done some, I don't know if Bernadette will be on this video, but my friend from years and years and years ago, like 20 years, we were so spiritual, we did all this cool stuff together. We would go to restaurants and we both would sit down, and once the food was served, we would close our eyes and we would put our hands above the food and send light into the food before we would eat. And we'd go to pretty kind of out there cool, like, little places in Alston and stuff. So we probably weren't the weirdest people there, but I think of it now like being in somewhere in Quincy and doing that, like, people would think you're crazy. So I don't necessarily pray for the food like that, but I more now notice when I'm sending any negativity to food. Okay, so I will stop myself before saying, oh, I shouldn't have that, that's bad. No food is bad. It's the perception of it or the intention around it that will change how your body's able to receive it, okay? So you do not, if you want to, you can be this more advanced, put your hands, and maybe do it at home, put your hands on the food and send white light into the food, no matter what you're eating, and see what happens with your digestive system. See what happens with your immune system after doing that to your food. Now, step down a level, right? It's less advanced. Maybe you're not going to put your hands out, but you're going to send positive intention and love and bless the food before you eat it. Okay? You can also, just like people have been doing in Catholicism for years and years, you can pray out loud. You can say, God bless this food that I'm about to eat. I'm grateful to it. I've done food prayers at weddings and bless the entire chain of every hand that's touched the food and the soil and the sun and the water that's come into contact with the food before it reaches our mouths here today together and all of the things that have made this event possible, right? And you really literally charge the food. And the concept is, and this is, my mother taught me this, that you could eat poison, she would say. You could eat poison if you've prayed for it. Okay, so I want you to think of food like that, as energy, which leads me to the next piece, which I think is super important. So during my couple of years of really having some unhealthy and imbalanced relationship to food, I learned about, oh, here, let me turn that off. This is what happens when I do live videos at my house. Oh, Laura Wood. Hi, Laura Wood. Okay, we'll call her back. Okay, where was I? Okay, so let me just move on because I'm not sure where I was. Yeah, so you got pray for the food. So another thing that my mom would have us do, and this is really good if you have issues with chewing really fast. Okay, it's funny. I've always been a really slow eater because my mom would make me do this practice that oh my gosh, make me do this practice that I would do. I did all the things my mom challenged me to do. I don't know, especially when I was younger. So chew one bite 50 times, and just like doing 150 push-ups. You walk around stronger, right? So what happens is you create a neural pathway that says maybe the next time you're out to dinner, you don't chew one bite 50 times, but you might chew that one bite much more than if you had only been practicing for years and years to eat fast. And you know how it is, like I sit down with people and it takes me the longest to eat. One, you're going to eat a lot less because you've slowed down your and almost over accentuated your ability to sense when you're full, because the digestive system doesn't catch up that fast, right? So you stuff all this food because you haven't eaten in so long, or you are so used to eating fast or eating on the go, and you've overridden your body's natural response to say, okay, I'm full. So slowing down is going to help. It's also going to help with the salivary glands and like the entire digestive process. And you want to have a certain amount of, it's considered in Ayurvedic, air and fire in your stomach to properly digest. And this is in a direct alignment with tracking your metabolism and improving your digestive system from that angle as well. And I'm sure if there's any nutritionists that watch this, you'll agree with me. So yeah, you want to drink. Okay, let me tell you this one actually. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but that's just how I live. I like to have fun. And there's a lot of information inside of me. I make a grid and then I have so much fun like sharing it. Okay, so yeah, one technique that you can use, I think this is really radical, is you can imagine that Jesus Christ is sitting across the table from you, right? And you can think of it as perhaps you're the most, I want you to think of the person you want to impress the most on the planet. Maybe it's your future mother-in-law. Maybe it is your daughter's best friend's mom that you just are starting a relationship with. It doesn't matter. Whoever you choose, right? It would be Jesus Christ for me for a certain period of time. Then it was a woman that is very dear to me. She's like an angel when I see her, and I just feel angelic when I'm around her. So I would imagine her sitting with me, and I would eat as if the more important thing was the relationship, not getting the food inside of me, right? So then that creates this sort of awareness of, I'll use Jesus again. How would you behave with Jesus right beside you? You would elevate your behavior. You would be more consciously attuned, and you'd probably not chew with your mouth open or talk while chewing. You'd sort of aspire to a more elevated way. And I want you to use that as a practice, okay? That is a technique. It is a technical way to change your relationship to eating, because you've created, if that is your thing, fast eating, you've created a habit that every time you eat, you behave the same way, right? It's something that's become ingrained. So to move it, you're going to have to practice something else, you know, and practice to some people can be a hard thing to start to instill a new practice, but it is so amazing to be able to change. And if you start practicing things and start witnessing the effects of positive change, it ends up, as you know, becoming a cycle for the rest of your life. You gain momentum, you start to change other things, and before you know it, you realize that you can tackle anything. And that is the truth. So, okay, so what else did I want to tell you? So there's an old adage, you may know this one. I love it. So you want to chew your drinks and drink your food. Chew your drinks, drink your food. What does that mean, right? What does that mean? So, okay, so chew your drink is because, like the 50 chews, you literally want to sort of emasculate. Is it emasculate? You want to. You can tell me what that word is if I don't. I don't think that I said it correctly. But you want to chew it, the drink, because you want your saliva to be all over it. So you also change the temperature, and that's Ayurvedic as well. So you want warm things in your stomach if you follow Ayurvedic. I know other people do other things with ice, but in the digestive system. But most people will agree that are in the space of nutrition that you do want room temperature things in your stomach, or warm. So raw food is, of course, it's different. But so you're chewing it, it changes the temperature, and this is a drink, and you're also getting your saliva on it. So you're starting the digestive process correctly, and then you swallow, okay? So that's what that means. Chew, it's literally like swish it around your mouth and chew your drinks. And then drink your food. Drink your food because you're chewing your food so well that it is liquefied by the time you swallow it. So I think of this as like I know maybe I'm sounding very spiritual. I am very spiritual. This is also one of the really beautiful things I learned when I was trying to figure out how to change my relationship to food, when it was becoming a detrimental, hyper-controlled thing. I was like so neurotic about my meal plan and what I was going to eat and what my diet was, and I was weighing myself like 18 times a day. Like it was not, like that is not healthy to me at all. And and I don't remember if someone taught me this or it dawned on me like in a yoga class. I feel like it might have dawned on me, but it was 20 years ago. So that food is love, and you can think of food as God and receiving information or love for your body from source. And if you are out of alignment or out of balance, so too much yang, too much yin, so you're like grabbing, like, I need to eat that right now, get out of my way, or like whatever, right? Or pushing it away in the other direction and starving yourself, or hyper control. I will not give myself, you're kind of in this whole other way where it's very restrictive. That is not healthy either, right? We want to find balance. So you're either holding back for love or you're grasping love. And if you think of it in a universal source sort of sense, where you're able to say, I receive well, and I can process, and I can also let go, right? So it's a really balanced and healthy approach. And I have found that when I literally would think of my food, so I would pray for my food, and then as I was eating my food, I would be like, I'm receiving God. I'm receiving source energy as I eat this food. Like, ba-boom! You're on another level with what the energy is behind what you're eating. You're not going to just slop it down, because you'll feel like really connected to the process of receiving, right? So that had been very, very healthy for me as an awareness. So I want to share with you and explain to you, I guess, how I think about being in balance with the food choices that I make. And I think of this is probably what intuitive eating, there's all this trend now, right? Everybody's like, oh, intuitive eating. So intuitive eating to me, and again, this is real life experience. This isn't textbook or someone taught me. This is years and years of sort of playing with. And by playing with, I mean, I do play with how I eat and what vitamins I take. And I am pretty serious about my health. It's a pretty serious priority for me. So what I do is now this is going to be something where you build sensitivity, and you may already have the sensitivity. So I want you to, when you approach eating something, like if it's, an apple or a bag of Doritos, or you open the fridge, I want you to sense how the food feels to you. And many of you are going to be like, oh, yeah, I've been doing that for days. Got that in the bag. Other people are like, what are you even talking about, right? So, like, I'm having coffee. This is my afternoon coffee. I have it every day. So some days I'll go to drink my afternoon coffee and my body's like, no. It's just like a no. And I listen to that. I only have that response coming into my sphere because I had to ask for it and listen to it for years. You don't really get to have that type of communication without putting in some respect and some work. It's something like this, right? Your lover. So your lover is not going to wake up and make you breakfast in the morning if the last time you did it, you were like, ew, I don't like blueberry pancakes. Don't make me that. Or maybe they will make it because they're a sucker. But most people would be like, all right, well, I'm not going to do that again for this person because they don't appreciate it. And that's what listening to your body is like. If you don't create a channel of communication, you will never be on that radio frequency. You will just be doing what your mind and your ego wants. But what we want to do is really tune in to, what does my body need? Now, I talked about balancing first because that's the piece that's really important. You are not going to have the information coming in correctly if you're not balanced. Okay? So, in other words, what do I mean? You will, if you've been eating out of balance for a while, you can't trust the voice that comes in, because the voice is going to say, open the soda can, have the glass of wine, it's 5 o'clock, or eat the bag of chips because I'm stressed, okay? If you're out of balance, that's going to be the message you get, right? Because you are in a habitual behavior. So the key here, and I think it's kind of sophisticated. I don't know how other people teach this or talk about it, but you've got to know when you're in balance and when you're out of balance. That is the key. Because if I get a hankering for chocolate once a month, I know what's going on. But if I start every single day at 3 o'clock needing chocolate to get by or something, right? Like that kind of feeling, then I'll stop having chocolate. I'll stop giving it to myself because I know that I'm creating an unhealthy relationship to chocolate, and it's becoming slightly addictive. I would say addictive. The same with like overeating, undereating, certain types of food, and allergens. The crazy thing about allergens, y'all, friends, family, foes, and new people, is that you oddly sometimes can desire the thing that you're allergic to without even knowing it. So I used to, well, I don't know if you want the real examples, but I used to eat eggs twice a day. I would eat an egg in the morning at like 5:30 a.m. And then I would eat, because I'd wake up hungry. And then I'd eat another egg at like 10:30 in the morning, okay? And I had all these issues with too much good fat in my body, too much, and I gained about 10 pounds. And I was like, I didn't eat a lot of food at all. I worked out more rigorously than I ever had. And I did all of this body testing, which is very similar to what I do with Body Talk. And I found all these things I'm allergic to. Eggs was one of them. And I slowed down my avocados. I changed my oil intake and all this stuff. And the crazy thing, you guys, is that now I can eat eggs again. But I went about 5 years without eating eggs. So I would crave an egg, right? Because that was what my pattern was. It was like, it's actually the bad thing for you that you don't need. And until you really get in balance about something, then you can tune into what you really need. So how do you do that, right? I don't think it's a really easy thing to do, because do you trust the impulse or the intuition? And how do you know the difference in the beginning? So the beginning is to find out what you're allergic to and what you shouldn't be eating. And then really be committed. And that's the thing. I can't teach or train. I cannot inspire you. You decide if you're ready to grow or not. And then you take the action and you commit to doing it no matter what. And it's all possible if you are really committed, then you find a way to do it. So I like to keep that part really simple. Like, that's the challenge. Just do it, okay? Like, so, yeah, whatever your poisons are, you have to know what your poisons are. And if you don't know what they are, I have my Under the Hood program. I can help we'll get all the biology. You can figure out exactly what you're allergic to. And then you can go to work to change it. Once you have that stuff, right, and you know what's imbalanced and what's out of balance for you, so you'll go into balance, you'll start feeling much, much better. And then what's going to happen is when you go out of balance, you know it. It's louder. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm on vacation. I didn't have my vitamins. I didn't do my morning ritual with hot water and lemon or whatever. And you feel out of balance. It's the same with when you're trying to work on a new habit, like not getting angry any longer or something. And then you do it for a long time, but then you mess up a little. You're out of balance. You're like, you know what? This actually doesn't feel good. I want to get back into balance. So that most of the time your gravitational pull is bringing you into imbalance, okay? You want to get to that place. So you can splurge and get a Sunday every, time you're with your family, whatever. Not every time you're with your family, but, once a month or something. But you're not going to do that every day or 3 times a week. So you're going to look at yourself as like an 80-20. 80% balance, 20% out. As soon as you're out of balance, you get yourself back in balance. If that's where you're hanging out, you can literally ask your body what it wants. So you'll know, you can look at something and say, should I eat that? And you'll feel the pull to eat the cleaner food. Your body will give you information. It will say, no, do not have that bag of cookies. And you're like, yeah, I'm not going to do the cookies. I'm not going to do it. Or I'm going to have one. But if I'm feeling out of balance, then I can't really trust myself. It's like I got to just get all the cookies out of the house and get myself back in balance. Okay, so you need to take over with your will and say, that's it. I'm not just like a child who you need to love through discipline, right? You don't want to let the kid eat whatever they want just because they're a kid. Well, a 4-year-old does not have any nutritional education. Like, you can't rely on them to know what to eat, right? You've got to help shape them. And shaping behavior is, I would say, probably one of the most difficult things on the planet. Like, I don't know what is more difficult than that. Changing, so you want to be careful, don't get into bad habits. And when you do, get the heck out of them as soon as you know you've got them. And we all know that we've got them. So really tune in and be humble about it. There's no need to feel bad because you've done something wrong for a long, long time. It doesn't do anything to propel you forward. It actually takes wind out of the sails and it weighs you down. So I suggest not doing that at all when it comes to food. Like, no guilt, no shame. If you are going to eat the lobster salad, eat it without shame. Celebrate it. Give yourself that pleasure. And you'll feel more satiated after, rather than if you eat it and then feel guilty, you've poisoned it, right? If we go back to the beginning, it's like you want to pray for the food the entire time. And you want to celebrate sometimes and let loose, okay? But if lobster is the absolute worst thing for your body, maybe choose something in the middle, right? So that, I won't eat fried food. The only time I've eaten fried food in the past 5 years is because I made a mistake on the menu. I forgot to say, give me a side salad. Like, it happens, and I'm like, oh, I just want fried food. Like, I get so mad. I do not want fried food in my body. I am way too good. Okay, and I literally think of it like this. Like, my sister reminded me, I had said that once. There was someone made some naughty dip. And I was like, she's like, you're not gonna have any? And I'm like, no, I don't put stuff like that. I love myself too much to put that in my body. And I don't mean to sound like a snob. Like, it's not a snob thing. It is, maybe it is a snob thing. I have the utmost respect for my body. I am far from perfect. And I have no judgment for what other people want to do. But if you want to change, you've got to have respect for your body and not put crap in it. That's just how I am. I'm a beast about it. So I hope that this was helpful. And if you liked it, then definitely give me a like and a comment if you have any questions. And I'm going to aim, and I'm not going to promise because my life gets a little busy here, to pop on Mondays and share some insights about things. So let me know if you liked this conscious eating and what you're working on with food and if I can help in any way.